Oh, nobody messes with my family. Kiss my hairy hoof.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 fighting game characters that are super difficult to master. We promise this list isn't full of low-tier characters, otherwise we'd just be talking about role in MVC2 more than we would like to.
Master! Knockout!
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Zato 1, Guilty Gear Strive. Guilty Gear in general can be tough for newbies to get a hold of, but even the more experienced players can admit when a character is too difficult to get a firm grasp on. The Strive community has frequently named Zato 1 as that character. With the Forbidden Beast Eddie being heavily incorporated into his kit, you'll quickly learn that playing as Zato requires you to play as two characters at the same time. Yes, he is a puppet character, and as with most puppet characters, you'll need a heavy understanding of how zoning works in addition to general multitasking abilities. And in a game like Guilty Gear Strive, where things can get visually overwhelming, some may find Zato 1 much, much harder to learn. Ayane, Dead or Alive series. While Helena is known to be the mix-up queen in Dead or Alive, Ayane can prove to be just as dynamic and confusing. Sure, she may not boast as many attack options as Helena, but Ayane has a few moves that can change her position and directional attacks while in the middle of a string. On top of that, Ayane attacks so fast that both the player and their opponent have to keep close eyes on her at all times just to properly react to what she's doing. That said, you might want to spend some time doing command training with her and maybe a few ladders before jumping into the competitive scene.
You're acting all tough at the beginning. What happened?
Crimson Viper, Street Fighter 4. For the most part, Street Fighter's characters can be fairly easy to understand. It's refining your abilities that can become a real challenge. But when it came to Crimson Viper, many agreed that this CIA agent was absolutely hard to get a hold of. For starters, Crimson Viper's normals are insanely slow on startup compared to the rest of the Street Fighter 4 roster. To make matters worse, her combos and special abilities require much more precise inputs to execute, whereas the other fighters leave slightly bigger windows. Should you choose to learn Crimson Viper, you better make sure you are locking in and you're ready for hours upon hours upon hours of experimenting.
Viper wins!
Painwheel, Skullgirls. Whereas Crimson Viper is tough in learning utility, Painwheel is one of those fighters that is difficult to learn in both utility and execution. What we mean by that is that while Painwheel is one of the most dynamic fighters in Skullgirls, her animations are so off compared to when you input a button that it makes performing combos a bit of a hurdle. On the plus side, this can also be confusing enough to befuddle your opponents. In a sense, Painwheel causes mental pain for both players in a fight, but it can be worse for her opponent when she's placed in very capable hands. Capable hands that know how to control her aerial movement. That's a wrap! Kirby, Super Smash Bros. Series. On the surface, Kirby seems like he would be one of the easiest characters to compete with. Well, looks can be deceiving, and it's not because he's got some secret techniques. Much of your skill in using Kirby is going to depend mostly on your opponent's reaction time and counterplay. The reason for this is because Kirby is one of the most easily readable fighters in the Smash Bros. Franchise. Neutrals, specials, throws, all easily predictable enough to quickly execute a dodge or block. The specials are especially easy to avoid on account of how long the startup animations can be. You're honestly better off leaving the little Poyo out for casual play. Duolon, the King of Fighters 13. In all honesty, many of the King of Fighters contestants have some learning curve to their kits, even some of the more seemingly basic ones. But when it comes to Duolon, this is the most complex fighter in the series, and one of the most technical characters in fighting game history. None of his special moves use inputs in the same way as the other fighters, and compared to the other fighters, his moveset is vastly more limited. Instead, you have to rely a ton on teleporting and attacking from a distance while using variants of what few special moves you do have. Most of your time will feel like you're fighting an uphill battle, even if you're wiping the floor with your rival. Menat, Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V boasted enough simplicity and enough depth to satisfy both casuals and hardcore players, mostly in the game's second half of its post-launch life. But once Manette stormed onto the scene, it kind of threw everybody into a loop. Though her normals and general fundamentals are easy to grasp, her orb mechanics are where things get increasingly complex. The orbs allow her to take complete control over the stage, but placing them and using them effectively is where the learning curve spikes drastically. And that is why you don't see many pros using Menat. Akira, Virtua Fighter series. One would expect the face of a fighting game franchise to be among the higher tiers, if not the middle tiers. Alas, that is not the case with Akira. The mascot of Virtua Fighter has long had a notorious reputation of being the most challenging brawler to play as. This is largely attributed to his slow movement, predictable attacks, and overall simplistic playstyle. Plus, the weird thing about Virtua Fighter is that for as dynamic as most of the roster typically is, almost every one of them has a couple of combos for the button-mashing casuals to have their own fun with. Akira doesn't even have that, let alone a basic 3-hit string. So no matter if you're playing casually or competitively, Akira just isn't a viable option for anybody unless you really want to be very defensive and focus on punishing whiffs. Fulgore, Killer Instinct. The 2013 iteration of Killer Instinct is one of those fighting games that can be easy to pick up and learn, but it takes quite a bit of time to truly master. Of the entire cast, series mascot Fulgore is the toughest character to truly become an expert of. This is mostly due to just how different his shadow attacks function compared to the rest of the roster. Fulgore's meter is divided into 10 chunks that get filled slowly over time. The only way to speed things up is by attacking your opponent, and even when you have a full meter, executing shadow attacks and shadow counters will require precise inputs. In other words, you may want to learn him through the more casual control scheme before attempting specific inputs. Donkey, Shrek Super Slam.
Do I need a breath mint? I ain't no criminal. I mean, it's not like I scarfed the queen's vegetable garden or took a bubble bath in the moat or shed all over the royal sofa.
Okay, we know we said we wouldn't be littering the list with low-tier characters, but learning about Donkey and the existence of a Shrek Super Slam competitive scene was just too damn funny for us to ignore. While the not-so-noble steed shares the lowest tier with 2 other characters, much of the Shrek Super Slam community deemed Donkey to be the absolute worst and toughest character to use on the roster. Not only does he boast the slowest movement speed, whiffs from aerial attacks can severely compromise him, and he can't land throws to save his ass. Not even his special move is worth considering, and when you have nothing to get a leg up on any of the other fighters, it's no wonder why nearly every Shrek Super Slam pro cannot recommend Donkey for any level of competitive play. And let me just say, that is a sentence that I didn't think I would ever say in my entire life. But tell us, were any of these fighters too complex for you to understand? No shame, but let us know what you think down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.